Welcome everybody to Johnsky Writes, and today I'm happy to bring you my second interview on the channel, following on from the interview I did with Jamie Gray last week. Today I'm bringing you an interview with KC Storm, who is trying to actually remain anonymous, and only one or two people do actually know about her. So let's jump straight into the interview then and see what KC Storm had to say.
Welcome, KC Storm, to the channel. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
So how long exactly have you been writing then?
Well, I actually started my first novel about 10 years ago, and then life just became life and didn't happen. And so I restarted in October, I started in October writing some short erotic stories.
Okay. So is your novel an erotic story as well that you've been writing for 10 years?
It is.
It is,
yes,
okay.
It is. And I wrote a whole bunch at the very beginning, and it's a lot of the things I've done. So it was kind of fun to let myself.
Personal experiences then?
Yes, some definitely personal experiences there.
That's good, and I'm glad you could be honest with me about that. So did you write about it just because you wanted to share your experiences and you enjoy writing, or was there a particular thing that got you into writing?
I think it just was a good outlet at the time, something that I could do, and something that definitely enhanced my husband and I's relationship as well, and that was fun too. And it was just, I have always read erotica, even as a teenager, as I snuck it from some adults that we knew. So I enjoy it.
Okay, that's good. And does your husband partake in the writing? Does he help you with the writing experience?
Well, a lot of times the way it kind of works is that he tells me stories. We're very vocal during our time, and so he tells lots of stories, and I use those stories, or we'll talk about stories while we're in the truck, getting ideas and stuff like that. A lot of times we disagree on how they should be actually written, because he writes from a male perspective, and he's like, sex. Let's just get to the sex. And I write from a female's perspective, and we got to have some storyline here, at least some, and then we can get to the naughty, raunchy sex.
Yeah, I suppose a man and woman's perspective on intercourse is very different, to be fair. But at the end of the day, it is your story, so it has to be written from your perspective.
That is true. That is true. Brilliant. But most often, I'll tell him something, and he'll go, "Well, that's not how I thought it was going to go." and that's the way I did it. So I said, well, You're welcome to write it. You write and I'll type. That's fine.
Maybe it could be one of them things where if he wants to write it eventually, he could write the same story as you from his perspective. So it's like sort of like a sister novel. Yeah.
Very good idea. That's a great idea.
Some more money. I want 10% on that if you come through with that idea, right? Where's my provision? So how many books have you got available at the moment? I know you've got a few in the works, but how many have you got available for the readers to actually get their hands on?
Currently, I only have 3 right now on the Kindle Unlimited with Amazon, that you can go. If you have the Kindle Unlimited, you can actually read them free, or you can purchase them on Kindle or even on Amazon. I have just given one over to a publisher. So that one, Kindle has rules where if you're on Kindle Unlimited, you can't publish it anywhere else. Okay. So I'm doing that with the other book currently. And then 2 of them, I am actually working on their revising them and making their covers. I do make all my own covers because at this point, you're not making a ton of money, and I'm not hiring designers.
What free software would you recommend to anyone watching if they are looking to sort of design their own book cover?
I've really enjoyed Canva. It's good. It has good pictures. Sometimes I can't find the picture on a lot of the sites that my head says should be the cover of this book, because finding erotica pictures, they can't be naked, obviously, to sell them on Unlimited on the Amazon, but you want them to, I need them to at least represent what I feel like the book represents. I'm a person who believes the cover sells the book, because that's how I am. I look at a cover, and if it catches me, I'm usually getting that book. So, but Canva does have a lot of good pictures. They have a lot of good software. I have also used Shutterfly and Unsplash. Okay,
that's good. And have you got a preference? Is Canva the one you use more?
Canva so far is the one I use more, but sometimes I use their software to do the design part, but I've imported pictures that I found on other places.
Yeah, and that's a good idea as well, because there is a limit to what you can do with the Canva images, even on the free
Yes.
edition. So that is something I would recommend to people, actually, that you brought that up, is if you're going to use
Mhm.
Canva or any of the free services, maybe import your own photos. Yeah. So
Yeah.
Casey Storm is obviously your pen name, hence the
It
mask.
is.
We are trying to keep our identity to ourselves.
Thank you.
How do you find that? I've got a pen name, but most people know who I am. I do put my face on camera a lot on YouTube, but how do you find trying to keep the pen name secretive? Is there anyone else apart from your husband who knows about it?
My husband, my sister, and my best friend are really the only ones who know that I'm doing this, and they've been supportive, very, very supportive. But as there is here in America, maybe not over in other countries, a stigma on some of this. We are very well known in the community, my husband and I. And so I just wouldn't have anybody else know. I figure if somebody's looking for it, then they're not going to care it's me if they find me. But I wouldn't advertise it to most of the people I know.
You wouldn't want the local vicar to find out, for instance.
Right.
I get that. There is, I can't remember what film it's in, but I remember seeing a film a few years ago with my friends, Eurotrip, I think it is, and they're American students and they come to Europe. And I think one of them says that America was the home of the prudes or something. Europe have a broader look on sex, as it were. They're not as uppity about it, for instance, as Americans.
Very true.
I have spoken to other Americans that are quite happy, like yourself, to talk about this sort of subject, but I do understand that for a lot of people, it is, like you say, there is a stigma involved in it. It still haven't quite got to the phase yet where it's normal to discuss this and write about it. So I understand, obviously, you're keeping yourself personal and you keep it private. How did you come up with the name Casey Storm?
Honestly, I just looked through. There are on the internet, actually, there are name generators. You can go that route, and it'll give you first names and last names and flip them all around. I went through about 20 names at first, probably, and every time I would look them up on Google, they would already have Facebooks. Those names were already real people. That's when I went into thinking, well, let's go ahead and do something maybe with initials. I like the KC because KC are initials, but it is also a name when you say it together. And so that's kind of how it happened.
Very clever. I like that. Casey or KC. I like that's very good. Yeah. So I'm going to call you Casey. No, Casey Storm. Yeah,
that sounds good.
That's very good.
And Storm seems sexy.
That's good. I like that. Yeah. We are all about that erotica here at the moment with your book. So that kicks with the whole theme. Yes.
Kind of goes with it.
Right. So your novel obviously is still in the works. You've got a couple. Are you starting any new projects as well, or are you just focusing on that at the moment? Is that enough for you?
The novel itself is probably in the background, and I'll keep just adding to it. The goal is to probably keep writing the short stories, and I really would like to be doing 1 to 2 a week minimum and getting them out there. When you're new, I feel like you really have to get a huge amount of books out there to get followers, to get customers, to get, I guess we don't call them clients, customers, I should say, readers, to get readers. Because a lot of times I know that when I used to read, or when I do read, I want to be able to read another book by that author if I like that author. So if there aren't more books to read, I'll just move on to somebody else. I don't usually remember to go back maybe to that person. But if there are a lot of stories that they have, and especially if they're in a genre that I enjoy, then I'm going to keep reading. So the goal would be is to get up there. I have used the Erotica Academy is, I guess I'm making a plug for them, is a really great program. I bought it, helped me know how to get onto Amazon and all of that. Gave suggestions on how to find niches that you would be interested in, or how to find niches that weren't too big. And he talks about having the dirty 30, at least 30 books in your genre and in your niche. And that would help get that kind of broader readers, more readers coming. There's so many out there. That's the problem. Now, if you do go and search mine, if you were to search for BDSM or MMF, I come up, but I may come up way down the page because I only have so many books, or I've only had so many reviews so far. And so that's the goal, is to be able to have more readability if this is something I want to do as more than just a hobby.
Is this something you're looking for long term, or like you say, is it just a hobby, get a few books, or are you planning on putting like full emphasis into this now and just going with it and running with the ball and seeing how many you can do and how much of readership you get?
The ultimate dream, I guess, would be yes, if it could be more than a hobby. I would love, my husband's worked hard for so many years. I mean, our whole married life. And I would love to be able to just travel with him and write and enjoy and life and have more sexy times.
So here's something that just comes to me now. Obviously, I haven't discussed this with you and I haven't thought about it before, but just thinking about that you're saying about your husband, you'd like your husband maybe to be able to retire there. And he's worked, obviously you're in this together. He gives his opinion on the sex books, the erotica. And would you, obviously being a very healthy sex life between the two of you, very happy, would you ever consider writing one of them like help books to help couples sexually? Because I've seen there's a lot of help books out there nowadays about how to write and how to cut grass, all that, like YouTube, and there's all sorts of books and stuff about it. So would you ever consider, you and your husband, going into that field and writing to
Absolutely. Yeah, we've actually talked about, we think we'd probably both be very good to encourage couples to be able to go even to couples' homes and encourage. I always found that in other things that I was doing, that I was part of an organization of women meeting, that I was very vocal in keeping that all alive in a relationship and how to do that and stuff. And so I've always been that way. It's never been anything that I turn away from or that embarrasses me. Of course, you have to know where you're at, how much you can talk. I probably didn't talk BDSM
know your limits.
in those.
Yeah, know your limits. Yeah.
But I did talk about having a sexual relationship that is very healthy and very prominent. I do believe that the world throws sex at our men every day, all day long. In all areas of their life. And a man is a very sexual creature. And a woman can easily let that go in a marriage. And so I feel like sometimes, and not maybe be as receptive to keeping those things alive between a husband and a wife, that intimacy. And intimacy is built so much in that sexual relationship. And it doesn't have to be BDSM, obviously. It doesn't have to be a crazy sexual relationship. That can enhance things. It can make things not boring if you've been together for long periods of time. I kind of feel like anything that does not offend either one in the bedroom, try it. Why not? I mean, and just have open communication. So yeah, I've always been very comfortable talking with people and very blatant about how important I believe it is in a marriage.
Okay. So you talked about one of the reasons you keep who you are personal and private, and don't let people know who you are. Casey Storm is the pen name. One of the reasons for that is because you're a well-known figure in the community. Because of obviously doing this and obviously keeping quiet, that does, that does restrict some activities like book signings or anything like that. So with the novel that you're writing, when you're finished that, is that just going to be on Amazon as well? Because potentially if you're going for a publisher, they might want you to do book signings and stuff when the book comes out and promotional work. So would you potentially consider going to a traditional publishing route as that, or would it just be, again, self-published on Amazon?
I think I would. We've always joked that I would hire some really hot woman to sign my books.
So you'd hire someone directly to go out there as Casey Storm, and that's interesting.
If I ever went that route, yes.
Okay, that's good then, because I just wondered like how you'd go about that. But it's good because of this, I wouldn't want you to be restricted in the fact that you could only do self-publishing. Right. I know a lot of indie authors that just self-publish. I know those that are the opposite and only like digital publishing. Me, I've obviously my first book's coming out Monday, that's traditional published, but then I've also got self-publishing with the children's book that's coming out on Amazon. So I just wondered if you'd consider both options because of the restriction. But I am happy to hear that you consider that.
Well, books like 50 Shades of Grey and stuff that came out, I think it showed some things in the sexual community or whatever that were a little different than we'd ever really seen. It freaked out lots of people. This is horrible, terrible. He's beating her, whatever. And then there were a lot of people who were like, hey, so it was kind of interesting that to me, as reading it for years and years, that it actually went so mainstream, became this huge movie that went to theaters and all that, not at your XXX kind of theater, that it was an actual movie, because it seems so taboo to allow people to embrace or enjoy their sexuality. And so Yeah, gosh, if I could make my novel a movie, that would be amazing.
So even though your identity is a secret from the world, apart from those selected few, and they should be very honoured, you have considered starting a Patreon, I believe, as well. And obviously, I first met you on Twitter, I think, from the writing community. So what active communities are you a part of online that you are a part of or you want to be a part of? And what would you recommend to people who are getting into writing to help build their own platform or own audience when they start on the writing journey?
Right. Well, I guess I did learn a lot getting on Twitter. I am on TikTok, but haven't used that very much. And the Patreon, everything I have heard is that you really do need to have a little bit of a following before you start on there. But Twitter, definitely have learned that as an author, it's not just about you being an author and shoving your book in everybody's face, which I luckily from the beginning didn't do that. And then people were commenting how people shouldn't do that. So I learned that there's just a lot of writers on there, and you can go to specific writing areas on Twitter, which I thought was interesting. You can, hone all the way into, authors of erotica, authors of, and that's neat. So, but this is the first social platform I've been on that was not business related. So it's a little different, obviously, in the personal realm, I feel. But yeah, I don't know. I do need to get more on Twitter, but being anonymous, not Twitter, excuse me, TikTok, but being anonymous on TikTok and on Instagram is a little harder because a lot of that is all video. And so I have to kind of figure that out. So I would say definitely get yourself out there and get people seeing you so that you can direct people to those books that you are putting out on Amazon Kindle. The good thing about putting them free on Kindle, it does get people who have Kindle or who are going to who want to buy something inexpensive just to see if they like an author. It gives them that opportunity to try you out. Do they like you? The pay's not great if you're on Kindle. I mean, you get it whatever how many cents per page they read or however that works out. But it gives them an opportunity to see if they like you. And as a person who reads a lot, that's a good thing because I want to see if I like somebody before I'm going to keep reading all their books. And even the buying of the books there is very inexpensive. But yeah, I think that's the best way to get people to directing them over there so that you're not just on the bottom of the barrel of, hundreds of pages of erotic books.
Yeah, that brings me to the books that are coming out. Are they going to be available for free on the Kindle Unlimited as well, I'm assuming?
Well, as this is the first time I've tried to give one to a publisher who I did actually meet on Twitter, so that was kind of neat. They reached out to me and said if I had any books that I wanted to send over to them to read, they'd be interested in reading them. And she did actually even say they can't just be straight sex. She goes, straight sex we won't take. We want storyline. We want emotion. I feel like I put that in my first 3 books, especially my first 3 books that are on Unlimited on Kindle Unlimited actually follow each other. It's a series, and it goes from, and you get to really know the characters. And even though it is some BDSM, a lot of it also is a male, female, which then even by book 3 becomes male, female, and the desires of that. But we even have the male's perspective in the last book. The book is actually named after him, Dorian, Dorian's Choice. The new books, I am giving it a try to see about publishing it through a publishing company because somebody did reach out to me on Twitter and just see what they say. And if not, those books will then be put on to Kindle Unlimited as well. That is like with Patreon. If I were to take the 3 books off of Kindle, I could put them onto Patreon and release them, chapter a month kind of thing, because I have, these whole 3 books and they do follow. It is a soap opera. It is a storyline that has emotion and you feel it and you feel the uncertainties of some of the characters and it's not just straight sex. So that's an option too. The Kindle, I've just started and tried, and I know you leave them on there for about 90 days is kind of like what they expect you to do, and then can remove them if you choose. I haven't yet, but yes, these books will eventually maybe make it to Kindle, but at this point I want to see what else is out there and what other choices I have. But I plan to, like I said, start writing multiple books a week or a month at least, and putting much more out there. And working in some other niches. I have again a niche that's multiple partners, so it's a little different from the BDSM, and I have a niche that's older female, which is something that's a little popular also, older female, younger guy kind of thing, woman of authority, younger guy. So yeah. I also think that men don't always read as much erotica. It's interesting how many men write erotica that I found out, and that's interesting. But I do also think that appeals to older women who are having those fantasies of the younger guy. My age span seems to be maybe 10 or 15 years. I can't do the whole, 70 and 20. It's just not my thing. It doesn't turn me on, and if I'm not turned on, I'm not going to write it. So it's just, that's kind of, because for me, it's not just the writing, it's also in enjoying the sexual excitement later on with my spouse. So,
well, I just want to clarify to people out there who sort of know the basis of my book, that my book's about death and murder, and none of that is based on my personal life, like your books are. Just want to clarify that, people watching, I'm a mass murderer. I haven't killed anyone before yet. I'm not planning on it, just to clarify. But I do find it very interesting that you have written this book based on personal experiences. I've put some of my personal experiences or friends, families' experiences in the book, in my book. But I like the fact that yours is based on yours, and you are confident and outgoing to talk about it. I think it is interesting. I think it is interesting what you said about how many men you found that write erotica.
Yes.
Because from a perception that I have, when men write women, and I'm writing a woman at the moment, so I'm hoping I'm doing it justice. But when men write women, they tend to get it wrong more than they get it right.
Yes.
Whereas women don't seem to struggle to write men as much. Have you found it easier to write men or women, or is it just both the same for you?
I feel like I can write both. I mean, I've been here a long time and dealt with a lot of people of different ages, backgrounds, all kinds of things. I feel like I can write the male and the female. I don't know if I always write it though the way a man wants it, because sometimes again men are looking for down and dirty. I'm actually had been telling myself I want to look up a couple of these male erotica writers and read what they have to write. I'm curious their perspective, how they actually write it. It's one thing when my husband's telling me, giving me suggestions and all that, he's not actually writing word for word. You're not seeing that whole picture. You're getting ideas, you're getting names of people, you're getting maybe places and different things like that, positions, whatever, but you're not kind of getting all those that background of the scene. And I'm actually curious to go read a couple of these male writers, because I'm curious to see how they do write.
Would you say that you'd be open to a collaboration with one as well, if you found a guy that had the same sort of interests as you, maybe him and his wife or him and his husband were actively healthy sexually like yourself and your husband, and you write the same sort of genre? Are you open to collaborations with the two of you writing stories together?
Okay, I was waiting for you to say the writing part. I wasn't sure where you were going with the collaboration.
No, just the writing, just the writing. Just the writing.
Yes, I would be, and I'd actually even be interested in turning books into audiobooks, in reading them. I've never had a problem with words that a lot of people don't want to say, even though maybe there were years I didn't use them. When it's not appropriate, obviously there's not a place to use them, but I've never had a problem saying them. Some people can't seem to say, certain body parts if it's in a crude way. I don't have that problem. So I would love to even read. And I've talked with my husband about, again, anonymously, doing some for YouTube, doing a couple of YouTube videos myself that read portions of a book, snippets of a book to encourage people to go see them. And I know you can hire people, but I feel like I could do that myself. But yeah, I would love to collaborate with somebody. I think it'd be fascinating.
So you mentioned there that you think that's something you could be able to do potentially yourself, would be the voice for if you do an audio book, you do the voices yourself. Would you ask your husband to portray the male characters and you do the female characters, or would you get other voice actors to do it with you, so it would be, or would it just be the two of you?
That's interesting, because he's shyer than I am. Interesting enough, he stumbles a second before he says some of those naughty words.
So, well,
which is funny to me.
Talking about the naughty words, then, there are, I don't know if you're familiar with the In-Betweeners. I know they did an American version of the TV show, but In-Betweeners, it's a British comedy show. And one of the characters in it is very happy to say words, like you're saying there, that can be deemed inappropriate sometimes in the wrong. There's a word that he loves to say, which I think is clunge, minge. He doesn't really have any filters when it comes to it. His name's Jay, and he's a bit of a big mouth. He knows everything, blah, 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 right?
Right.
Is there any words that you said that you're not worried about saying that now, but is there any words in particular you do not want to put in your book because you find
Definitely.
it offensive?
Oh, definitely. I find very offensive if a man calls a woman a slut or a whore. I just,
Right, okay.
probably it's my own baggage from, way before my husband.
Mhm.
But, I find that very offensive. I think you can, I don't ever demean or degrade. Even in BDSM, there's never a demeaning or a degrading. I'm not big into, slapping on the face and all that kind of stuff. That's not what I enjoy, and it's such a turnoff for me that I don't write any of that.
Well, anyway, again, thank you for joining me. I really enjoyed it. I hope the viewers would enjoy talking to us, and I'll
Thank
make
you.
sure I'll put all your links obviously in the description. Just send me what you want me to, where the books are available, and if you don't mind me
Sure.
showing off some of the pictures you sent me of the covers as well, I'll put them up
Yes.
as well, maybe in a few shots.
That's perfect.
from
If you could just upload those, that would be great. I'd appreciate it.
Fantastic. Well, I think it's afternoon where you are, isn't it? It's evening here. It's afternoon.
Yes, it
where you
is.
are,
It's 4:00.
So we're 4 o'clock. Well, enjoy the rest of your day. I hope it's sunny.
It
And
is.
you have a good day.
Beautiful sunny.
Thank you once again for joining me. And for those of you watching, please go and check out the books. If you've got Kindle Unlimited, they're free. So it won't cost you anything to read Casey Storm's Erotica if you're into that. Or maybe if you're thinking about dabbling in it, why not start there with some short stories? And I'm sure you will absolutely love them. Okay, thank you very much for joining me today. And it was a pleasure. It really was. And I'll speak to you soon.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
So I hope you enjoyed that. That's pretty much all I have for today. I did actually reach a milestone on YouTube the other day. It's not an amazing milestone. Don't get too carried away. It's nothing big. It's not like 1 million subscribers, but I actually reached this milestone, which is up on the screen now, which is 3,500 views. Yay! Some people get that in like a week or a month of launching their channel. I've got it in just over a year. I'm behind the curve, but at least I'm on the curve. So thanks for joining us. Have a great week. I'll see you next time. Take care. And until then, peace.